What if everything you've ever learned about money was wrong? What if going to school, getting good grades, and landing a stable job doesn't actually make you rich, but keeps you trapped in a cycle? Today, I'm diving deep into one of the most powerful personal finance books ever written, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, a book that has completely transformed the way millions of people think about money, investing, and success. But this isn't just another summary. I'll tell you the story behind the book, the lessons that shook the financial world, and how you can start thinking like the rich starting today. So grab your notepad, because by the end of this video, you'll never look at money the same way again. We're not just talking abstract theories. We'll explore practical steps you can take to build your financial future. From understanding the difference, a young boy named Robert stands between two influential father figures, his biological father, the poor dad, and his best friend's father, the rich dad. One was his biological father, one highly educated, with a stable government job, a PhD, and strong beliefs in academic achievement. He was what Robert calls his poor dad. The other, the father of his best friend, a man with little formal education, but a razor-sharp understanding of money, business, and investments. He's the rich dad. These two men shaped Robert's views on life and wealth in completely opposite ways. Poor dad would say, go to school, get good grades, find a secure job. Rich dad would say, learn how money works, invest, and build assets. And from a young age, Robert was stuck between these two very different philosophies. As Robert grew older, he began to see value in both perspectives. I realized that success isn't. Two curious young boys stood in front of a confident businessman, known as Rich Dad, in his backyard or office. The boys looked eager, while Rich Dad appeared thoughtful, not indulgent. Rich Dad didn't hand them money. Instead, he gave them an education. Not in a classroom, but in real life. He made them work in one of his stores for 10 cents an hour. Why? To teach them how it feels to work for money and why they should never rely on it. Eventually, Robert got frustrated and asked, "You're not teaching us anything. You see, it's not just about earning. It's about understanding money, letting it work for you." Rich Dad explained calmly. "But how? We're just cleaning floors," Robert asked, frustrated. "You're learning the value of hard work, yes, but also observe how the store runs. See the customers, the transactions," Rich Dad said encouragingly. "So we need to pay attention to everything?" A busy world where everyone chases unseen goals. Rich Dad teaches Robert that the key to wealth is not income, it's assets. Let me break it down. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Seems simple, right? But here's the shocking part. Most people think they're buying assets when they're actually collecting liabilities. For example, you buy a big house with a mortgage. It looks impressive, but it costs you money every month. That's a liability. On the other hand, if you own a small apartment that you rent out and earn monthly income from, it's an asset. So the rich, they focus on building assets, things like real estate, businesses, stocks, intellectual property. Poor and middle class people, they focus on earning a salary and buying liabilities, thinking they're investing. But those who understand assets versus liability, now here's where most people go wrong. Rich Dad teaches Robert that the key to wealth is not income, it's assets. Let me break it down. An asset puts money in your pocket. A liability takes money out of your pocket. Seems simple, right? But here's the shocking part. Most people think they're buying assets when they're actually collecting liabilities. For example, you buy a big house with a mortgage, but it costs you money every month. That's a liability. On the other hand, if you own a small apartment that you rent out and earn monthly income from, it's an asset. So the rich, they focus on building assets, things like real estate, businesses, stocks, intellectual property. Poor and middle class people, they focus on earning a salary and buying liabilities, thinking they're investing. So how do we change this mindset? It begins with, it's not just money, it's mindset. Poor dad always said, "I can't afford it." Rich dad said, "How can I afford it?" That shift from finality to curiosity is everything. The rich constantly seek solutions. They ask better questions. They take responsibility for their financial future. And most importantly, they are not afraid to take risks, fail, and learn. Rich Dad didn't just teach Robert how to make money. He taught him how to think like an entrepreneur, not an employee. Robert realized the world was full of opportunities, waiting for those who dared to think differently. He learned that the only limits are the ones we place on ourselves. The best investment you can make is in your own mind. Educate yourself, and the world opens up, Robert explained. An audience member asked, "How do you stay motivated in the face of setbacks?" Setbacks are just opportunities in disguise. One of the biggest takeaways from the book: financial education is more important than a college degree. Sounds controversial, right? But here's the truth. You can be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, even a PhD, and still be broke if you don't understand money. Financial literacy means knowing how to read financial statements, understanding investments, minimizing taxes, managing cash flow, and recognizing opportunities. And yet, our school systems teach none of this. Rich Dad always emphasized the more you learn about money, the more money you'll make. Imagine a world where financial education starts early, where discussions about money are as common as those about sports. In this setting, students are curious, eager, ready to apply their knowledge. They see money not as a mystery, but as a tool. I envision a future where financial fears transform. So, how can you apply this? Step 1. Start building assets. Invest in things that generate passive income: rental property, stocks, a side business, or even digital assets. Step 2. Track your cash flow. Know exactly what's coming in and what's going out. Your money should be a tool, not a mystery. Step 3. Invest in your financial education. Read books, watch interviews, take courses, learn how the rich think and operate. Step 4. Think like the rich. Don't work harder, work smarter. Focus on creating multiple streams of income. Step 5. Break free from fear. Don't be afraid to fail. Failure is part of learning. The poor avoid risk, the rich manage it. The road to wealth begins with a single step in the right direction. You have the power to shape your future. Break those chains, take those risks, and build the life you dream of. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals. So, are you living the life of the poor dad, or learning to think like the rich dad? Remember, being rich is not just about having money. It's about financial freedom, the ability to live life on your terms. If this video made you think differently, even for a moment, then hit that like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more life-changing insights. And in the comments, tell me, what's one asset you want to build this year? Until next time. Make money work for you. You might be wondering, where do I even start? Begin by educating yourself. Read, watch, listen. Consume content that inspires and educates you on financial literacy. Education is your first investment. The more you learn, the more you earn. Take one step today. A small change can lead to lasting transformation. Every decision you make is a building block for your future financial empire.